All right, good morning. Happy Saturday morning, or whenever you are watching this back, if you get the recording from somebody. This is something, full disclosure, that I just kind of dove into. It got laid on my heart, and I was like, if I don't put it on the calendar, it is not going to happen. And so this morning I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. We've got to do this. That is one of the things I really want to dive into this year, not necessarily as a New Year's resolution, but just as a 1% habit increase. And we're going to talk about that tonight because this is something that really, really started our health journey over 10 years ago. And I'm going to talk about that just a little bit in case you don't know who I am or why this is something that I am so passionate about. But 2 weeks ago now, which is crazy, or was it last weekend? Last weekend, I guess, already. We were listening to a gut health talk during a training, and I just realized how many people don't know about this connection that we have in our body and kind of just treat it as different separate entities. And so before I even get going with this, I do want to preface this. I am not a doctor. I am not medically trained. I am not by any means saying that I am an expert on this. I will probably say some stuff wrong. But it is something that I firmly, firmly believe changed the trajectory of our family and our story and why we're here and why this journey matters so much for so many people. And so, if you don't know me, my name is Brian Coolidge. If a friend of a friend of a friend invited you to this or sent you this recording, and those are my three kiddos in that picture with us and my husband. We live on a farm in central Pennsylvania, and that is an integral part of our story. So, my oldest daughter, the one that's on the right on your screen, she just turned 16 yesterday. I'm still emotional about it. It was a crazy day. It's been an insane week. But she was actually the reason that we started diving into all of this over 10 years ago. When she was first born, at 14 months old, she had her first anaphylactic food allergy attack. I was still teaching at the time. I was a sixth grade math teacher. And my mom was watching her, thank God, and called me, and we raced to the emergency room. She was in full blown anaphylaxis. We had always kind of dealt with her with, like, from a very early age. She had eczema covering her body, but in her joints, like the back of her knees, from a really early age, like 6, 8 weeks old. And especially by about 6 months old, when I would get her out of her crib in the morning, there would be blood on her sheets because her skin would crack no matter what we did with it. We were constantly trying to figure out different lotions and treatments. And when she had that first anaphylactic attack, it really set me into a tailspin of what life was going to look like. We knew at that point that she had already had allergies. Anytime she would go outside, she would get really stuffy and sneezy, but allergies kind of run, quote unquote, in our family. And so we just kind of thought that that was a way that life was going to be. Fast forward until she was 5, I had my other two kiddos. We had all three of our kids in a 3-year time span. My middle daughter, Brooke, on the left-hand side, and then my son Colton there in the middle. And when I had all three of my kiddos, I was also going through a host of all of my own stuff. I started at 18. I had my first optical migraine. I would lose my vision. If you've had migraines, you know it feels like somebody has wrapped a 2x4 upside your head. I'd always kind of dealt with a few health things. I was very active in sports. When I went to college, I had a lot of stuff going on that I was kind of trying to figure out how to regulate. But then when I had all three of my kids in a 3-year time span, my hormones went crazy. My body was kind of like, wait, hold up. We don't know what's happening. My issues manifested just like Riley's issues manifested with allergies. My issues manifested more in the autoimmune realm. I was diagnosed with celiac disease, Hashimoto's, thyroidosis, sorry, which is like an extreme thyroid hypothyroidism. I also was diagnosed with RA and lupus, and I was going every other week about 2.5 hours away. I was having my joints drained and was meeting with a specialist for my autoimmune because we didn't know what was going on with my body. And so I tell you all of those things. It sounds like a lot. to be here and to be in this space, you don't have to have all of those things happening, right? I think that for a lot of people, it just builds up over time. And so if you want to share something that you've noticed in the chat, I want this to be interactive. I want this to be something that y'all are asking questions on. We'll open it up at the end. I'll stop recording. We'll open it up at the end and we can just kind of chat some stuff through. Again, not because I'm an expert, but because over the last 16 years, I have dove into this space because I wanted to know everything that I could know about it. And when I walked into that last appointment, with my daughter at 5 years old, and it still makes me emotional. And I was told that she had then developed a carrot allergy and that we needed to wipe carrots off of her diet with over 30 different intolerances as a 5 year old, not having eggs or dairy or gluten, or, we had obviously eliminated tree nuts. And now we needed to eliminate red food dyes a lot, which eliminates so many things in our diet, sadly, because there are so many synthetics and food dyes and everything. She ate carrots every night before bed. She loved watching Bugs Rabbit, which she always called it, and watching cartoons and eating carrots. And then we walked into that appointment, and the doctor was like, well, here's one more thing that you need to eliminate. And you basically need a bubble for her. We had nebulizers, we had inhalers. She was on daily medication. And I walked out of that appointment, and drop a one in the comments if you've ever felt this, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to feel this way. Maybe for you, it's low energy. Maybe you've dealt with autoimmune issues. Maybe you've dealt with the allergy end of it. Maybe you deal with migraines. I don't know what it is for you, but maybe you felt that way before. Like, I don't know what the missing piece is, but I really don't want to feel this way all the time. That's where we were. And that's where I started really diving in because I thought there's no way we can keep heading down this path and have it be different for us. I did not want her living in a bubble. She loved the animals from a very, very early age. And I didn't want her to have daily medication to be able to just quell the symptoms. I wanted to figure out what was going on with her. If we had gone for a ranger ride, she would literally have to take a towel and just hold it over her eyes because her eyes would swell shut from all the danders and pollens that were in the air. And that's no way to live, right? And so this is why I'm so passionate about it, not just because we've figured it out for our family, but now we're part of a network of literally hundreds of thousands of people that are figuring it out for their families too. And I know what it's like, y'all, to feel like there's so many different directions that you get pulled, right? Maybe you're there, maybe you're like, okay, that sounds great. I love what you're saying. I can relate to some of what you're saying, but also what do we do? I'm not here to tell you exactly what's best for your family. I don't think that there's anything that's one size fits all, but I do firmly believe that as a culture, as a society, and especially with our family, we firmly believe that if we were set on this path, that we can do something with our story. I did a post about this the other day after seeing a quote that said, this isn't the story that I would have chosen, but now I wouldn't change it. And that hits me so, so deeply because I would never in 1,000 years have chosen for Rye to go through this stuff, but we did. And it happened. And now we get to use it to do something different. And so, again, not because I'm an expert, but because I firmly believe that as a society, we can do. And I think that we're headed there. There's so many different things that we can do now to change where we're headed, that we can leave the next generation better than we were, because there's so many things that are coming out about this now. So as I'm going through this, I'm just going to kind of run through this over the next 10 or 15 minutes. And I think that it's really important for y'all to know where I started from, what we've been through, and that we're living proof of this stuff. And again, so are so many other people. So as we're doing this, if you have questions, please drop them in the comments if you can relate to anything. And then again, we'll kind of unpause at the end or stop recording so we can kind of chat some stuff through if anybody has any questions. So this was a really big piece for me when we were starting to kind of figure out the gut-brain axis and the way that our bodies work. And I loved last week during our gut health talk that he actually said that there are People now that are proposing that your gut is actually another organ in your body. I don't know if that will ever actually come to fruition, where it's identified as an actual organ. But I love that our culture and society and our science is headed this way because the gut brain connection and the way that your gut literally impacts every single part of your body is amazing. I think that in our culture, we kind of go to this. If you picture going into a Rite Aid or a pharmacy or a Walmart or wherever you've gotten, your over the counter stuff before, I just remember walking in and seeing all of those signs. Like, here's the digestive aids, and here's the pain relief, and here's the allergy medication, and here's the other medication. Like, we treat everything as these separate entities. And so we're constantly doing quick fixes, right? We're constantly treating a migraine only for it to come back. Or we need to run through one of those fast food places with popular coffees to get all of our quick fix for our energy. And so we treat all of the symptoms that we're experiencing separately, and we're just constantly masking those symptoms for them to come back. And realizing that our hidden control system in our gut affects everything from our hormones. I'm going to be 42 this year. And so going through those stages of life is very real for me now. And I can see what people are talking about with that, the way that your gut is connected to all of those different stages that we process through, the way that our cortisol is impacted. Even our thyroid conversion. And I put this is on here. I kept this on here on the slideshow because thyroid is so prevalent in so many people, and we don't even realize it. But when our gut is off, our thyroid is off, and that connects again to so many different parts of our body. And so when we can get this under control, being able to have our health balance out and being able to age, not with the common sayings like I remember getting so tired hearing like I'm tired as a mother. Well, that is just part of aging. You're just going to have to go through this. And yes, like I am so thankful that I get to age every single day, right? It is a gift to be able to age. I don't want to go through life just accepting that as I age, I'm going to constantly feel sick and tired and then be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so that is why we're so passionate about this here, because not that we can slow down aging, right? Like, again, it's a gift to be able to do that, but to be able to experience life in the moments as we do so and not be sitting on a couch with a migraine. I know that there are several people on here that can relate to that. Not being able to go and be super active with my kids and keep up with them. That's something that I wanted every single day. So we're going to dive in just a little bit about leaky gut and what really happens within your system. Because when we talk about different products, when we talk about different things that we want to do for our body, we want y'all to understand why. I know what it's like to see posts. I know what it's like to go to those aisles and get the quick fixes because we want to feel instantly better, right? We live in an Amazon Prime society. I know when I want something, I want it last week. I don't want to wait, 24 hours even sometimes, let alone weeks and months to have something happen. But what I don't want to happen either is to know when I wake up in the morning, by the afternoon, I'm going to be in a slump and I'm going to need that quick fix. What I don't want to happen is to be 3 hours away with my kids at a soccer tournament and then all of a sudden have a migraine coming on and not know it until I'm there and needing to push through that. Like there are so many things that we deal with every single day and we wake knowing that it's going to happen. What I love is now I wake knowing that it's not going to happen. I haven't had a migraine in over 10 years since I started these products that, help to heal our gut. And we're not going to talk a ton about products today, but anybody that invited you to this can help you through with that. What I love knowing is that when I wake up in the morning, life is going to life, right? Like anything that you do is not going to take away the stress of life, but it will help the way that your body fully responds to life happening. And so that picture on the left-hand side, that's what our gut should look like. We have
Lewis,
healthy, whoops.
Daddy wants you.
Just 1 second. we have healthy microbes that are inside of our body that are helping to regulate all of our systems. Your skin is your largest organ. There's a microbiome there. There's also a microbiome on the inside of your body, trillions of cells that are helping to keep our body intact. And so the science behind this is incredible. I'm not going to geek out on y'all because we could be here for hours and hours and hours. And y'all that know me know that I could talk about this stuff for hours and hours and hours. But basically, when it's healthy, it works. And I know that that sounds so silly, but I know that everybody believes different things. I fully believe that God designed our bodies to work. What happens is that modern science, technology, our food sources, the air that we breathe, all of these things go in and it damages our insides, right? Whether it's something that we're seeping in through our skins, that we're breathing in, or that we're eating it or taking with over-the-counter medications. We're going to kind of go through this. What happens is that it breaks those junctures. It's called leaky gut. So all of this stuffing is happening in the permeability on the inside of your gut system. And so what happens when it leaks through those junctures that start breaking, it triggers systemic inflammation in our body, right? So if anybody can picture, there's two different examples that kind of brought this to light for me. But if you get a paper cut on your skin, you see this happen, right? It turns a little bit red. It kind of puffs up a little bit. It's your body sending all of the cells there to heal that. Or maybe if you've had food stuck in your gum, and your gums kind of swell up, it's the same thing. It's like fighting that foreign invader, that food that's stuck between your gums. It swells up, it triggers inflammation. What happens on the inside of our body when we're constantly bombarded with toxins, and we're going to go through what these toxins can be, our body is in a fight or flight mode, constantly trying to heal. And so I'm not a big believer that like it's only genetics or that it's only environment. The way that our body is helps kind of bring those two things together, and it manifests however we're going to heal or however we're not going to heal, how we're going to respond to those. And so when you see people posting about, like with our family, we're a perfect example, Rye's skin issues, her allergy issues, my energy issues, my autoimmune issues, right? It manifests in different ways for different people. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not happening or that it's not related to one common thing that's going on in our body. But when we just do quick fix after quick fix and we don't heal the underlying issue, that's when we have so many things that are happening. And so if you go back, think about this, if you kind of look at this just really quick, that mucus layer, the microbiome damage, and then epithelial cell damage. So your mucus layer, it just keeps going down through. So as you do some things, it's going to damage just the top part. And this is why it happens over years for people. We don't necessarily just wake up one day and we're like, man, maybe. My husband and I joke sometimes like, oh, how did I pull that while I was sleeping? Like, who was I fighting with while I was sleeping? There's lots of jokes about just waking up and all of a sudden being out and about, right? But the truth is that we don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden, bam, like our body is just feeling it. It felt like that for me when I woke up one day and my knee was triple the size and I tried to go to work anyway. And by the afternoon, I was in the emergency room and they were testing me for everything under the sun, trying to figure out what would happen and pulling fluid from my knee and then being diagnosed over the next months with different autoimmune disorders. And it felt like that morning I just woke up and bam, had it happen. But the reality of it was this had been happening in my body for years and years. And so when we do those quick fixes, it fixes the symptom for a hot second, but it doesn't do anything to heal the years of damage that we've got. And so I think that that's so important for us to understand when we're going through this stuff. And we start a regimen, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, just kind of what we can do. But when we start something and we're like, oh, it didn't work in 24 hours. Well, no, it didn't, because we've got so much that's going on the inside of our body that we have to heal from. And so that's something that we really want to be able to dive into, because again, because we're the experts here, but because we want to have you really understand what's happening and why your body needs time. Because every 90 days, we create new cells in our body. And so if we're not sticking with something and developing that habit, your cells never have the time to actually really fully heal. And true cellular healing takes 7 years. So I don't tell y'all that to be like, oh, well, I'm out. I tell y'all that because the time is going to pass, right? Time is going to pass whether we're healing or we're adding to the hurt that we're doing in our body. And so stress is huge. It impacts us on the inside, the outside, mental, everything. Again, we can't take stress out of our days, but we can change how we respond to it and the healing that we do. Having low protein, alcohol consumption, antibiotics, lack of fiber, having unhelpful bacteria in our system. So doing these things actually increases the amount of sugar that we eat in a day is insanity. If you start really tracking it and looking at your foods, that goes in and it contributes to the yeast overgrowth or the bad bacteria that we have. We have to be able to have an equal, actually, it's not equal. We want more good and very less bad. But what happens in most of our systems because of these things, the stress, the alcohol, the antibiotic use, microplastics and toxins, irritants from inflammatory foods that we have, the over-the-counter medications, it increases the bad bacteria, causes those junctures or those holes in leaky gut, and we don't have enough good bacteria to help fight off what's happening. And so it causes this disarray within our bodies. And so one of the things that we have, well, three things that we have to do. One of the things that we first have to do is start removing those insults from our body. We have to start eliminating the inflammatory triggers and the toxic exposures that we have. And we're going to go through each one of these parts so you can kind of see what that looks like. You also need to nourish and support what you're putting into your body and then maintaining it through sustainable lifetime practices. Here's the deal, y'all. You're not going to change all these things overnight. I'm really, really big on 1% habit increases. So I don't want anybody to go through these next couple of slides with me and think, oh my gosh, how do I do it all? I need to redo my whole lifestyle. I need to redo the whole plan. This happens over time. 1% habit increases. And so maybe you walk away from this and you're like, okay, that's the one thing that I'm going to work on changing now. And then when I do that, I'm going to add this in. And so we're going to give you some different tips on what that might look like. This next slide, you're going to probably, I'm not a big, like, I want to set you up for feeling overwhelmed because overwhelm breeds overwhelm. But I know when I look at this next slide, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's in every single part of my day. Again, 1% habit increases. There are some things on here that are really, really hard for me in my everyday life, full disclosure, to try to remove. Microplastics from wrapping and from like water bottles, the food that we eat, like that is really hard for me to eliminate. I've kind of tried to do that. And so there are some things in our day that it makes it a little bit harder for us. But that doesn't mean that if we're aware of it, that we can't start lessening it. Again, I am not telling you to not use an antibiotic, to not use an over-the-counter medication, to not address your doctor, because there are some things that we very much need in our days, right? I am so thankful for modern science and for the things that we have that are available there. What I do want for people is to really start thinking before we're just doing stuff to do stuff, right? So maybe it's something with acid reflux, and instead of just popping something to quell it, we do something to eliminate it. And so you can look at this list, you can screenshot it if you want to. We're not going to go through every single one of them in depth because I know we've already been on for 20 minutes. But really looking at removing some of the things from your daily diet first is a huge thing. When you go to pick out something for your food, maybe take a second look at it. How much sugar does it have in it? How much gluten does it have in it? What are the things that I can do every single day to start removing the toxins and the insults that are causing a lot of those inflammatory triggers? Because just removing some things is going to make us feel so, so much better. The other thing that we have to really start watching is eating to eat and fuel our bodies rather than to fuel our brains. So the gut brain connection again is so, so big. If you are full of cravings and sugary diets, you're going to keep going down that road until you do something to address it. And I know that that sounds kind of basic and maybe a little bit silly even, but your gut is telling your brain that you constantly need that sugar. Sugar is as addictive, if not more addictive than cocaine. And when I heard that, that was something that blew my mind. When they've done PET imaging studies of the brain with somebody doing hard drugs versus eating sugar, the same areas of your brain light up. And so a lot of times we're like, oh, I should just not crave this, where it's really a gut issue because the gut is sending signals to our brain that we need it. And so there's a lot that we can be said about that with eliminating those cravings at the gut base with products, and being able to have different digestive enzymes that are breaking down that candida. It's really important. But also knowing that once you start choosing foods that are fueling your body, it is going to help that so, so much. Again, I hear all the time, well, I'm just going to change my diet and I'm going to work out a little bit. Those are huge tools in your tool belt. Drinking water, making sure you're moving your body, fueling your body with healthy food, but you've got to do something to go in and get those digestive enzymes and that candida overgrowth out of your system. We do not get that through food alone. And so that's why so many of us are so big on products that will help to heal this while you're going. I just got a message this morning from a sweet friend that said, I was eating over the week, or I was eating last night and having brownie sundaes, and instead of needing the whole thing, I only needed 2 bites. And that's something that is absolutely amazing to be able to hear from people, that as you heal your body and as you fuel it right, you're going to be able to make better choices because those cravings and that gut brain connection start to get balanced out more. Again, being able to nourish your body with the things that you need. Prebiotics, probiotics are absolutely huge. Micronutrients, being able to get that from our food sources does not happen. And so a lot of us do end up supplementing some of those things with the creatine, collagen supplements, increasing your protein intake. Again, not a scientist, but I've seen this written and said several times that an apple from 30 years ago, we would need to eat about 30 of them to get the same nutrients out of it because our soils are so depleted and the way that things are grown and the different practices. And then you're getting lots and lots of chemicals on top of them, all the things. And so I don't say this stuff to scare anybody, just to make us aware of what's really happening and that things are changing. And if we don't do something to change them from within and what we're putting in, we're going to keep heading down the same path. Again, I'm not going to go through every single one of these things. Maybe you can screenshot it. And then we can ask questions about it later. But these are some ways that are really, really going to be able to help you to regulate, to rebalance, to maintain, and get back to where we know that our bodies can be. I know time restricted eating is something that is, we have a lot of people that do that. I am not actually somebody that does that. It is not good for everybody. And so I'm going to put that on there because it is really good for certain body types. But knowing that you do need to listen to your body for these things, right? That we're just here making suggestions for you. I love helping people come up with personalized plans for those 1% habit increases for the products that maybe would be best for you and for your goals, based on whether you have allergy issues like my daughter did or autoimmune. And I know that the person that invited you here too is probably somebody that's very, very passionate about that too. And so please don't ever walk away from this feeling the overwhelm. I want you to walk away from this feeling very inspired that your body was made to work. And that when we understand what's going on, to be able to help our body work, that we really can heal. That nobody needs to just kind of sit back and let these things happen. That if we're doing the right things and we're removing those toxins and those inflammatory responses, and then also healing our body at the same time, that you can be in the moments of your life. And so again, you can take a screenshot of this for different things that can kind of help with your glucose metabolism. Glucose metabolism, I'm drinking a drink right now that helps with that a ton for me. And I know many people do that too. There's some different tips on here that can help with that as well. Okay, before we open it up for questions, I just want to end with this. There are so many different ways that you can dive into this. The knowledge around this, like y'all probably hear it everywhere now. Probiotics have been all of the rage, especially for everything that we went through in 2020. Vitamins, there are so many different messages and signals that we're getting every single day that I know for a lot of us, because we get so many of those signals, sometimes we can just shut down. It's like, I don't know what thing to do, and I'm being bombarded with so many things that I'm just going to do nothing. And so, what I want every single one of you to know is that your next step matters. And those 1% habit increases matter. And so maybe it looks like asking a question after this and kind of walking it through. Maybe it looks like sending a message to the person that sent you this recording or invited you here today. But what you're telling yourself is absolutely key in this too. If you're showing up and you're just believing that you have to be sick and tired and stay sick and tired, or that you just always, because I hear this all the time. Well, I have seasonal allergies. I just have to deal with it. I have migraines. I just have to deal with it. Now, are there some times in our bodies where there is something anatomically incorrect that's causing a migraine? Absolutely. My husband just went through it. We have a farm. His body gets out of whack. He needs to go to the chiropractor. There's lots of different tools in our tool belt that we can use. But if you are going through something that is created with chronic inflammation, and most things are 70% of our serotonin, our immune system is located in our gut. Like, there are so many things that are happening within us. But if you're waking up every morning and you're telling yourself like, oh, I'm just going to brace for it, I'm going to have the afternoon crash, you're probably sadly always going to have the afternoon crash because you're just accepting it. And why we want to start talking about this stuff so often and so much, and we're going to do more of these, is because we don't want people to feel like you just have to accept it. Healing is not linear. Okay. This is not something that you're going to watch today, that you're going to message somebody today, that you're going to order some products, that you're going to switch up your intake system, that you're going to eliminate some of those things that you're putting into your body, and then 24 hours you're going to feel magically better. We've got to do some stuff to get out those toxins and to break that down. And when we do, our body is going to start changing, but only if we start taking the steps. And so what I really want to encourage y'all today is those 1% habit increases. I've said it a bunch of times because it absolutely matters. Instead of doing everything, you've got to do something. So take 1, 2, maybe 3 things, and just start to try to really implement it. Make yourself aware today as you're going throughout your day, because awareness is key, right? If we don't know that we're doing it, if we don't know that it matters for the inside of our system, we can't change it. And so it absolutely matters to be aware first, to make a roadmap, and then to have the accountability and the right system to really get in place. I am so forever thankful that this, again, I wouldn't have chosen it, but now that I'm here, I'm so forever thankful that because of these things that happened, we're able to lock arms with so many other men and women to make an impact in their family. And so that accountability, those people that you have in your corner and the system that you're using, it absolutely matters in a world where there are so many options for us. I want to really encourage you to, explore where you're at and have the conversation, and then make the decision that's best for you. Okay. I love that y'all were here. I love that y'all took the time to watch the recording back, whichever worked for you. I know Saturday mornings early on the East Coast mean even earlier for people on the West Coast. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. If you have any questions, you can hang around. We can talk them through. If you have any questions and you're watching the recording, reach out to the person that invited you here. They can put us in a 3-way chat. They can answer the things for you. But again, we just want to make sure that you know that your story matters and that what you do next is super important. Thanks for being here, y'all.